Thank you very much for all those who've been waiting. We would, I guess, go ahead and start. A lot of our colleagues are still in coffee. I guess once we get started, we'll have the opportunity to come back here and get it going. So very briefly, once again, to reiterate, the topics that we will be dealing in this leg or this hall are going to be related to climate, fintech, and emerge tech. Those are the ones that we'd be discussing today. So let me go ahead and quickly get it started right away with our first session as we've broken out after these two legs. So the first one that we are having is a dialogue. And this is with our experts who'll be discussing the DIFC, the leading fintech platform in the MENA region. And I would like to straight away invite our esteemed speakers and our discussers to please join us on the stage. I will start with Mr. Hrushikesh Mehta, who's the fellow iSPIRT, who would be moderating a chat session along with Mr. Mohammad Alblooshi, who's a sector head, FinTech Innovation, Dubai International Financial Center. Request both the fine gentlemen to join us here. The stage is all yours. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the kind introduction. Welcome to Mohammad to this FinTech festival. We've been hearing about Dubai being a really large hub now and a very coveted hub for FinTechs around the world. So I guess the first question to you, Mohammad, is why is that happening and what role is DIFC playing in that?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Constellar and the organizing team for putting this spectacular show together. I think this was long due, as the organizers mentioned. This was supposed to happen in 2020, but due to the pandemic, it couldn't happen. But I guess we're all excited to be here after 2 long years. So again, Dubai, as everyone knows, Dubai has always envisioned and tried to push and position itself as a regional hub for all kinds of businesses, not just technology. I think if we go back in time, and it was the late 80s when Dubai started positioning itself as an aviation hub with the launch of Fly Emirates and kind of becoming a hub for that part of the world and providing connectivity between cities. And then, I mean, our aim has always been to pave a way from hydrocarbon-based economy and have a more diverse economy. And I think it was starting with aviation, then going into tourism by mid-90s, where we launched the global village, the Dubai Shopping Festival, and building the right hotels, and then developing the financial services sector as well, becoming a hub for finance, becoming a hub for trade as well. I think it was inevitable for Dubai to become an innovation hub and an entrepreneurial hub for that part of the world. Again, the region is quite robust. It is about 350 million people that basically you can access through by using Dubai as a regional hub for Middle Eastern and North African markets. So it's quite interesting. And I think within that part of the world, Dubai is probably the only city that could compete with the global hubs, the likes of London, New York, and Singapore. So we've kind of leveraged that unique infrastructure, the lifestyle that the city offers, and positioned ourselves as a fintech hub. And again, the DIFC, of course, stands for Dubai International Financial Center. We're a government body. Our role is to develop the fintech sector and the financial services sector. We started our journey about 5 years ago in fintech. Today, we're considered the leading fintech hub in the Middle East and North African markets. We have about 600 fintech companies that actually operate out of that hub. Anyone in the Middle East and North African markets, any fintech that emerges, Dubai would be their top jurisdiction of choice, where they would like to set up and operate from there and provide their services across the sector. And
India is obviously also a hotbed for fintech activity. Maybe could you shed some light on what this means for Indian entrepreneurs who want to scale globally and how they could engage with the DIFC to do this?
I think India is an opportunity unlike any. In India, what was it? I think Bloomberg a week ago, they mentioned by next year India's population would be 1.4 billion, more than China. So I think I think it's going to be, if not already, the largest the largest hub for entrepreneurs, the largest hub for fintech, and we always look up to India, and we work very closely with India. I myself have been working very closely with India since 2018. With Mumbai FinTech Hub, with TAI, with FICI, with NASCOM, with all these leading organizations to be able to bridge those, to have bridges between India and UAE. So Indian fintechs can expand into the Middle East and North African markets by using Dubai, DIFC as a platform, and the other way around as well. Because again, our market is a bit young, it's a bit nascent, but now I think we're at a point where our companies would like to export their services in other markets as well and look at other markets. So I think India, from a logistics perspective, just makes sense. It's only 2.5 hours away.
Right.
So I think that always the proximity, the logistics, cultures are very close to each other, makes it very important. And I think for Indian startups, there's an opportunity unlike any. I usually say the most important two things that fintechs need are access to talent and opportunity to scale. Talent, India is a global hub for talent. Unfortunately, we don't produce any talent. We actually import talent. Yeah, we offer the best conditions or let's say we have the best policies to import talent when it comes to immigration, to our immigration policies. But India actually produces talent, the top talent in the world. I mean, if you go to Silicon Valley, most of the talent is coming from here. If you go to any part of the world, so I think that's an edge that India has over anybody else out there. That's number one. Secondly, scale. I mean, you've got a market of 1.3 billion population. You can scale. As opposed to, I mean, some of the major countries, I mean, where you could maximum, I mean, if you take a jurisdiction, it's about 350, 400 million. Over here, you've got a population of 1.3 billion. So you have the ability and opportunity to scale is unparalleled. And third, again, I don't think funding is an issue. Fintechs usually look for funding. I think funding, there's a lot of capital available, and not just from India itself. I think global capital as well is very much looking into opportunities in India. So I think the next 2 decades do belong to India, yeah.
That's great to hear. Just a follow-up question. You know, I'd heard that there's some regulatory changes that have been made that makes it more conducive for companies to come and set up in Dubai. So can you shed some light on that?
Sure. So I think, Hrushi, the way we were set up, so we are an independent zone which was created for economic growth and economic diversification. We are independent in nature. We have our own financial regulator, which is known by, it's called Dubai Financial Services Authority. And we've been regulating all the top financial institutions globally since 2004 when we were set up. And fintech, it becomes very interesting, and regulatory development becomes very interesting because, I mean, fintech technically is disruption of financial services. And to enable fintech sector growth, we've been working on our regs since, 2016? I think, and our regulator is quite progressive as well in that way. I remember 2016, we had our first crowdfunding platform come to us. And again, we had no regs around it, but as I said, we do have a progressive approach. So we kind of worked with the fintech that came in, and we designed our regulations with them. And then we published our regulations. We created the region's first regs around crowdfunding, both debt, equity, and then a few months later, somebody came and said, "Oh, I have a crowdfunding platform that focuses on real estate." So we again developed regulations around real estate. And then we keep looking at what's happening in the market and try to tailor our regs to be able to cater to that demand. We have a regulatory sandbox as everywhere else. We call it the innovation testing license, which actually allows any fintech that wants to test a new concept of providing financial services. You can get into that sandbox. It's a testing license for a period of 6 months to 1 year. It's not dummy testing, it's actually live testing, but with close monitoring from the regulator. A lot of companies, we had our first wealth management platform come out of there. A lot of companies actually go into that. And then over time, we have been developing our regulations. We actually created our regs around payments and money services. Now, this is a sector where we didn't have any regs. We didn't have any regs because I think back in the day, payments and money services used to be considered high risk. It was mainly, OTC. So our regulator, which is a bit bespoke, because of the risk that it carried, didn't want to regulate it. But I think with the digital evolution, this is something that we closely studied, and we lobbied a lot with other government entities, and finally, I think in 2019 we had the regs in place, and now we have payments and money services as well. Crypto is an interesting topic, I guess, all over the world. Now, in our part of the world, we try to be a bit more progressive and try to position Dubai and the wider region as a hub for that part of the business. And we've had our regs. We actually created regs for investment tokens, asset-backed tokens. This was November last year, so that exists now, and companies can apply for that. And actually, for native crypto, let's say crypto payments, crypto exchanges, crypto as an asset class as well. We have put out a consultation paper for it, which is available. It's public news, and we aim to start accepting applications in a couple of months. So again, as mentioned, I think if there is an edge that we have when compared to other markets, I think our ability to change government policy. Government is quite. Government is leading change in our part of the world. So I think that's where we're a bit blessed. Decision making is quite quick and robust, and if something feels right, then the government kind of pushes the agenda. And I think one of the things, regs kind of go. You have the regs from a financial services perspective, but that also product offering is very important from a government perspective. I think we, as a financial center, we were designed for typical financial institutions, the Goldmans, the JPs, the top financial institutions that could come and set up shop in our jurisdiction and provide their services to the wider region. I think when we started looking at FinTech, it really tested our ability to adapt, because I think, what was it, 2017, when all of a sudden we are now dealing with guys in jeans and t-shirt and young guys that have just graduated,
right.
As opposed to, the typical corporate guys. And we had to learn from them in terms of what do they need? What do they need from an office perspective? The office requirements are different. What do they need from immigration perspective, visa policies? What do they need from ecosystem perspective? Because we do have a FinTech cluster. It's quite unique in the region. It has about 600 FinTech companies, all under one roof. But it recently got developed. But to get to that point, we had to really understand from the community, what do they need. I remember FinTechs telling us, they used to come to us and say that we feel intimidated because you guys serve all the guys in suits and ties, and we don't feel at home. So kind of creating that ecosystem for them, I think that was also very important, and we've done that, and now, touchwood, we're able to attract, not just regional companies from all over the world.
That's great to hear. One of the other questions we had was, you have an open finance lab, I think that DIFC has opened recently. So could you shed some light on what that does? And
Sure. So again, it was in the making for some time, but we recently announced it about 3-4 weeks ago. We've announced the region's first open finance lab. What that actually means, or the aim of that, is to push the open finance mandate for the city of Dubai and UAE, and it was done in partnership with the leading banks, all the leading local banks, and our platform provider, Tarabut Gateway, which actually provides that API capability to banks and any other partner that we bring in. And again, this was done to develop or to enable FinTech sector growth and really push the boundaries, because unlike EU, we didn't have a PSD2 mandate that mandates everything on a regional level or even on a national level. We had to do it ourselves. Touchwood, we had the blessing from the UAE Central Bank as well, who endorsed the project, and now it's live. And again, the idea is that fintechs, there's a lot of knowledge development as well, because a lot of guys at the financial institutions, at the government, don't really understand it. So we have to bring in the experts to tell them what this is and how the concept works, and also technology development. Because banks, yeah, we go and sit with the banks. Banks want to have API capability, but then the technology doesn't exist. So who does it? How we do it? That's why we get the platform, the technology provider to do it for them, and again to push the boundaries. And again, as I say, we have more than 500, 600 fintech companies. We want to make sure that there is easy connectivity between them and the financial institutions.
Awesome, great to hear. So just a couple of more questions. One is a more nuts and bolts question. So if Indian entrepreneurs wanted to come and participate, like how would they go about doing that? Who do they engage with? What is the procedure?
Sure. So Rishi, our journey has been, quite interesting. We started back in the year 2017. We launched an accelerator program. Now it's called FinTech Hive. Some of you might have heard about it. That's an accelerator program. It was done in partnership with Accenture, where companies from all over the world can apply and be part of that accelerator program. The way it works, we have all the leading local banks and regional banks that actually run the program in partnership with us, where they identify specific pain points. So it's basically to enable the financial services sector. They would identify specific pain points, and then we would scout startups that actually solve those pain points. So that's one way of engaging, and that actually was our first step in fintech as well. Then, as we are so again, if anyone is looking for an accelerator program or accelerator programs, we have something called FinTech Hive that runs all our accelerator programs. You could look it up and apply for that. That is if you want to apply into an accelerator program. Second thing that we did, again, we are in the business of ecosystem development, sector development, and creating that hub. So we've created unique license offerings, so companies can come and set up shop at technically no cost. It's quite attractive in that way because, as I said, we had to analyze the ecosystem and learn what's required. One thing that I remember taking to the board and telling them that we cannot treat a fintech startup as we treat a bank when it comes to ease of doing business and affordability of doing business. So we've slashed rates significantly, and this rates technically mean, whenever you want to set up shop or operate from a jurisdiction, it's your immigration fees. You want to hire people, and secondly, your real estate cost. That has significantly been smashed, and that's why we've seen the surge. So if you want to set up a shop in India, in UAE, the costs are substantially low. They're more than 90% subsidized. That's number two. Now, as we were looking into fintech, we realized we have to do more, not just reducing or creating regs and licensing and real estate wouldn't get it done. Acceleration was one part, but we realized 4 years ago, there was not much, the funding scene, the VC ecosystem wasn't very developed in our part of the world. Startups used to struggle a lot in terms of attracting capital. And I remember I used to envy global markets when I used to go to US or UK, seeing rounds of $50 million and above. Our startups could hardly raise $500,000. But I think that's where we also decided to create a fintech fund. So now we have a fund which is about $300 million that invests into fintech companies. Again, we are not an investment company. We are we are regulators, and our role is more of sector development and economic growth. But we put our own skin into the game just to develop that VC ecosystem. So there is a fund as well. Going back to your point, if you want to apply for funding, there is a fund called the Dubai Future District Fund, and you can apply for funding as well. The third thing is now that ecosystem, we wanted to make sure that there is a home within the financial center. There is a home for our fintech companies. All of them could be under one roof, and we have that. It's called the DIFC Innovation Hub. Companies could actually be housed over there. And recently, we're further enabling with FinTech. I mean, we learn something every few days. And now we've apart from the Open Finance Lab, we announced the Venture Studio Launchpad as well. Now, as you know, these concepts are growing in the West, but we want to bring the corporate innovation to Dubai as well. So we've launched a Venture Studio Launchpad. Again, that's something startups could engage with as well. And we also just announced a venture debt fund. Again, this is the first of its kind in the region. So Dubai, we've partnered with the Hamra Perks, a venture debt fund based out of DIFC that will be focusing on FinTech and the future of finance. So again, you can look for funding, you can set up your business, you can look for acceleration. All options are available for anyone that wants to explore the Middle Eastern and North Africa market. And regulatory development, I spoke of that.
So are there any other sectors? I mean, I know we talked a lot about FinTech, but are there any other sectors that are an opportunity area for entrepreneurs? Or?
So, I mean, DIFC stands for Dubai International Financial Center. We were established in 2004 for the financial services sector growth and diversification. Now, Dubai as a city has always aimed to position itself or diversify its economy. And I think in 04, 05, the financial services sector used to contribute about 4% to Dubai GDP. And we were created to make sure that that number grows. And touch wood today, I can proudly say that that number today sits at about 12%. So it has doubled. The financial services sector contributes about 12% to Dubai GDP, 12% to Dubai GDP. That's quite significant, and that's the role that we play. But you can't develop a full financial services ecosystem by just having housing financial institutions in it. Again, so the need for service providers was there. That's why we have, law firms. The IFC is the largest cluster for law firms as well. All the top law firms from all over the world are based over there as well. Consulting companies, the Big Fours, the McKinseys, the Booz Hamiltons, they're all based in the DIFC as well. I think we have a huge corporate, corporates business as well, which includes MNCs and family offices. They use DIFC's unique legal and regulatory framework to to structure their businesses. Again, I didn't mention it. DIFC is very unique in the Middle Eastern and North African markets because it's actually a common law jurisdiction. If you look at the whole region, it's based on civil law and Sharia law. DIFC, this jurisdiction was taken and was exempt from the mainland rules and regulations to embed English common law, to make it an international platform, no different than a London, New York, and Singapore. And we did it so we can go and tell a JP in New York or a Barclays in London and tell them, come to Dubai, come to DIFC, where we'll guarantee you a legal framework that is no different than wherever you're operating. And that's actually paid. Now we have all of these guys setting up shop and operating out of DIFC. Not only them, but actually corporates, companies in pharma, companies in oil and gas, companies in e-commerce, companies in trading, setting up their treasury over there, setting up their management offices over there. Because one, to benefit from the legal framework, but also the actual physical infrastructure. You want to be next to all the banks, all the service providers, all the law firms. So it's become very popular as well over there. Secondly, we have also been given the responsibility of developing a hub or developing the right structures for wealth structuring. As all of you know, there's a lot of family wealth in the Middle Eastern and North African markets. So at the DIFC, we have the right structures for them to structure wealth, family wealth, from an inheritance perspective. Instead of going to jurisdictions in other parts of the world, we want to make sure that all the family wealth is also preserved over there. And again, a lot of companies and people, high net worth individuals, use the structures of the IFC to structure wealth as well. Insurance, of course, is given. Wealth and asset management is given. Tech is now our fastest growing sector. And I probably didn't mention it. One of our major KPIs is job creation, the number of jobs that we attract for the city of Dubai. And last year, I think the center attracted about 2,500 jobs. out of which more than 50% were from the innovation space,
Okay.
which used to contribute less than 1% probably 4 or 5 years ago. And we're quite bullish on this sector. We're quite, I personally am more bullish than everybody else. We expect more than 60% of our growth coming from the innovation sector. And we're seeing that, and we're seeing global companies setting up shop in Dubai, putting hundreds of people over there. Again, this is all public news, from Binance to Rapid to all these global tech companies setting up shop there and putting a lot of their development teams over there. Because I think kudos to the government as well, the way we've handled the pandemic. Dubai was the first to open, the highest rates of vaccination in terms of population as well. And we were the first to open for investment as well. So we've been able to attract, last year alone, I think the population has gone much higher than pre-COVID levels and continues to grow. And we see a lot of it. As we see several cities still grappling with the pandemic, we on the other hand opened up for business and again I think the geopolitical situation in some parts of the world is still a bit uncertain. So we're kind of now emerging more as a global hub. Companies choosing Dubai to set up their global hubs.
Okay, and the last question, where do you hope to see Dubai 10 years from now?
Well, I think if you look at Dubai, Dubai used to be a regional hub before the pandemic. Before 2008, before the financial crisis, it used to be a hub for the Middle East. After 2008, it started being considered a hub for Middle East and North Africa. But now, I think we're seeing this, and our clients also tell us they're looking at Dubai as a global hub. Because if you look at it geographically, it's right at the heart of this globe, gives you, allows you to cover both East and the West, and secondly, has the right infrastructure and ranks very high when it comes to quality of life, standard of life, infrastructure. I think in the next 10 years, Dubai will become one of the top global cities, not just a regional hub. I think we're beyond that. Now we want companies to think of us as global hubs, not just when they're expanding into the Middle East and North Africa markets, then only think about Dubai. I think use Dubai as a hub to cover the world. Yeah.
Awesome. So thanks for taking the time. Congratulations on all the work done, and best wishes for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.